All right, shalom, shalom. I'm going to start out this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops, great millstone that rule while that teach while I learn the truth 100% according to the Bible. And I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, prophets, servants, scattered abroad the four corners of the earth. And shalom to the Akwaf, the sincere sisters, and your children. Shalom. And in today's video, as you can see, is going to be another video about a World War III update. You know, basically, you got Iran and Israel. They're still over there going full swing at each other's necks, you know, launching hypersonics at one another, you know, and things like that, you know. So that whole situation over there is continuing to get more intense by the day, by the second, you know. And I'm going to go to a precept real quick because we know the Lord told us that these things will be ultimately going on before he makes his second return. But we're ultimately just waiting on one thing, you know. And the brother in GMS Mississippi, the elder out there, he did a video on this earlier, you know. The brother said that, you know, we just waiting on the MOTBC hip, and that's really about it, you know. And I'm going to get that. This is St. Matthew chapter 24, verse 6, right? And I'm going to read it in the KJV, right? And it says, and ye shall hear wars and rumors of wars, right? You got active wars that are going on. You know, this Iran and Israel situation. You got rumors of wars, which are talks of wars, you know, Taiwan and China, you know, North Korea, South Korea, you know, the EU and NATO against Russia. You know, all of these different types of rumors of wars, right? It says, see that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. And we know ultimately the end, which is that thermonuclear destruction, will not take place until the RFID hip is made mandatory. So that's really the last thing we're really waiting on to be made mandated, man. Once that comes, then we're going to know we're officially are at the end, you know, when that comes on the scene. But we know it's only a matter of time before that comes as well. But, you know, I just had to get that precept, right? But I'm going to get into the video so we can basically listen to what it is that they're talking about, you know. But before I start the video, I want to say fair use. Fair use on 1976 Copyright Act. You know, I'm not getting paid for this video or nothing like that. It's only for educational purposes. Only Salakia. Got to take that off. You know, it's charging. But we're going to get into the video. All right, fair use.
This is WW3, and that was a hypersonic missile strike that just struck Tel Aviv as Iran is responding to Israel here with this back and forth. Drones, missiles, ballistic cruise missiles, and as you can see here in that clip and in the still here, hypersonics being used, and they come in at a tremendous speed. The back and forth continues to go down. Israel trying to pull the United States into this even deeper. They're asking Trump to give them...
Right. And you heard what it is that he basically said. He said you got Israel trying to pull the U.S. even deeper into the conflict. And we already know that the U.S. is involved, man. They're involved from the backgrounds, playing in the shadows like they always do. But we know, according to prophecy, that the least of them shall draw them in. Talking about the U.S. or those Amalekites, you know, they're going to draw the United States into this world war, man. And that's how it's going to pop off ultimately, you know, and I'm going to go to that. Matter of fact, this is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 45. And it says, therefore, he, the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh, that he have taken against Babylon, and his proposals that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans, surely the least of the flock, right? Talking about those Amalekites, right? Those, you know, little hats over there in the land. It says, shall draw them out. Who they're going to draw out? America, right? Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. And that's what Israel is ultimately going to bring forth upon them in America, man. Desolation, destruction by ICBM missiles, man. In this third world war. It's going to be a nuclear war. And America and Israel are going to lose, man. You know, and we know, unlike the land of Israel, this place, America, is going to be desolate forever. You know, it's going to forever be a desert. But the land of Israel will be builded back up because that's ultimately our holy land. So, you know, that land is going to get back builded up by the heathens. But, you know, this place, America, is going to be finished after World War III, man. you know, and we're seeing everything is ultimately leading up to this, you know. So I'm gonna get back into the video.
Bunker buster weapons. Trump is kind of acting like he doesn't want to do it, but all this seems to be theater. Just as they played the...
You hear what he said? It said it all seems to be theater. And it is theater, because we know at the end of the day through prophecy that the United States will be dragged into this war, man. So it doesn't matter if Trump want to act like he's not going to help him. He's going to have no choice, man, because ultimately he's not the one that's in control. Yahweh Bahashim Yahushai is. And we know it tells you in Proverbs 21:1 that the king heart, you know, the king's heart, meaning his mind, is in the hands of the Lord. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. So the Lord is going to stir up the mind of Donald Trump to bring him into this war, man. Right? He's going to lead all of these nations to the Valley of Jehoshaphat in the Middle East, right? Where they're going to fight it out in World War III. So we know ultimately that is going to happen, and nobody is going to stop him, man. Not Trump, not obviously wanting to help them. He's going to be dragged in it by the Lord, man, right? To fulfill prophecy.
Asses the other day, then they came out and they admitted it. They used Trump to buffalo everybody, but they were well aware the whole time of everything that was about to go down. The cat's out the bag now. Some people feel used and played by Trump, and they should, instead of turning another cheek or still hiding behind a lie, acting like he didn't know that it was going to happen. It's ridiculous. People need to be calling Trump out on places where he needs called out. It's just that simple, and stop being afraid to do so. This war...
Yep, but what they don't understand is that this is all prophecy, man. And that all of these things are happening according to the will of the Heavenly Father, man. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua. They're designing and controlling everything in which it is we see occurring right now in this earth, man, at this present time, right? And I'm going to go to a precept just to prove that, you know, this is Isaiah chapter 46, right? And I'm going to go straight to the point. I'm going to go to verse 10, right, in the KJV. And it says, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, I will do all my pleasure. So we're seeing the counsel of the Lord ultimately, you know, standing right now, which is, you know, these nations fighting against each other, being at odds with one another. You know, the Israelis, right, and the Iranians, you know, ultimately going back and forth, attacking one another. You know, this is all the Lord's counsel, man, you know. And it's going to stand, right? And World War III will happen. And I'm going to go to a precept, matter of fact, just proving that, right? This is Revelations 11:14. It said the second woe was past, and behold, the third woe, right, coming quickly. That's talking about World War III, right? And it's coming quickly. And we can see it through everything that's over there happening in that Middle East. Because like I said, the least of the flock should draw them in. So those little hats are going to draw in America. And Iran, they're going to draw in, you know, China, Russia, North Korea, and all of their different allies, and everybody's going to fight it out, man. Right? This leading up to that battle of Jehoshaphat, and I'm going to actually go to that in the book of Joel, right? Chapter 3. Right? Bear with me. And I'm going to start at verse... Right? I'm going to start at verse 1. It said, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom, right? Verse 2, I will also gather all nations, right? These heathen nations, right? Esau, Edom, so-called white man, you know, the Ishmaelites, so-called Arabs, Ammon, the so-called Japanese, Moab, the Chinese men, you know, Og, you know, which are those Russians. They're also Edomites. The Lord is going to draw all of these nations, man, over there to, you know, the Middle East, right? And it says, I will bring them down into the Valley of Jehoshaphat, right? Which in the Hebrew means Yahweh Shaphat, which means where the Heavenly Father is going to judge them, right? That's what it means, Yahweh's judgment. And will plead with them for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land, right? You know? And I'm gonna just read all the way down, you know? And it says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink, right? Because that's what they have done. You know, they cast lots for the Lord's people. They had us in slavery. You know, they did all types of different things into the Lord's people. You know, they continue to oppress us today, you know, through the neighborhoods that we live in. You know, the poisons and toxins that they put in our food, all of these different types of things, man. right? It tells you in Psalms chapter 83 that they have taken crafty counsel against the Lord's people, man. That counsel is ultimately them being against us and confederate against us, right? You know, so the Lord is going to pay them back for that through this third world war. And it says, yea, and what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will ye render me a recompense? And if ye recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head, right? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things, right? And the Lord is talking about his people when he says his silver and his gold. He's talking about the Israelites, right? And that said, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem, right, have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border, right? Slavery, right? And it says, behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And that's what the Lord is going to do to these nations through the third world war. He's going to recompense them. And that word recompense means to pay someone back, man. You know, the Lord is going to pay these nations back for what they have done, right? And it says, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hands of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabaeans, to a people far off, for the Lord Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, has spoken it. And that's ultimately what we're going to do in the kingdom, man. You know, these heathen nations, they're going to be our slaves, man. You know, as it tells you in Revelation 13 and 10, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. All of these nations that were confederate and worked together to, you know, oppress the Lord's people, to move us by ships. We know it was according to prophecy, of course, but they're still going to have to get back what they have done, man. You know, like it says, in the world, you know, you reap what you sow, right? And that's in the scriptures as well. Galatians 6 and 7, that Yahweh by Hashem Yahushua is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. So these heathen nations are just going to reap what they have sown and did unto the Lord's people, right? And this is verse 9. It says, proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, right? Prepare war. And that's what we see these nations doing, preparing war. You see Iran, you see China, you see North Korea, you see Russia, you see America, right? You see the EU and NATO, all of these different people preparing for war, all heathens. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. And this is the spirit that the Lord is going to put on them, ultimately to march down there to that Middle East, right? It tells you that in Ezekiel 38, that the Lord shall put hooks in his jaws, you know, roughly paraphrasing. That's going into Russia and all of those other Asian countries, right? And he's going to bring them down there to the Middle East, man, where they're all going to meet up and they're going to, you know, fight it out, man, you know, and ultimately be destroyed. And it says, verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say I am strong. And that goes into all of these nations that it is that we see now that are ultimately in possession of nuclear capabilities. You know, nations like Iran, you know, and other nations, Pakistan, India, all of these nations that were at once upon a time didn't have this technology. Now that they have it. You know, so they're strong now. That's why they're boasting their might. That's why you no longer have these nations being afraid of America anymore, the big bad bully, because they ultimately have the same missiles that America has, you know. So nobody's really scared of this place anymore. That's how we know this place is coming to its end, right? And this is verse 11. It said, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, right? And gather yourselves together round about thither. Cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord, right? That's going to be them marching down there in the Middle East, coming down to the valley, right? Where they're all going to fight at. And we know Lord Yahushua is going to return in the midst of World War III. You know, the Lord and in the fathership. And he's going to destroy these heathens, man. Because, you know, it tells you that in, I believe, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, that they're actually going to try to make war with the Lord. You know, he's going to put the spirit on them to try to fight against him, you know. And they're going to lose tremendously, you know, but that's what's going to happen, man. That's what everything is leading up towards, this battle. All right, this is verse 12. It said, let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Yahweh Shaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. And that's what Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua is going to do, man. He's going to judge all of these heathen nations, man, in this world war, right? So I'm going to get back into the video so we can finish listening to what the guy is saying. But this, a lot of people don't realize that World War III has already started. Like the beloved apostle Rakah did in his live lesson he made earlier. He said that there's levels to it, you know, just like in World War II. You know, the same thing that they're doing now is what happened in World War II. You know, they were talking. It was, you know, just, you know, back and forth, talks of peace deals and things of that nature. And it never came. And eventually it turned into action. Hence what you see going on now. There's no new thing under the sun. You're seeing these same nations doing the same thing they did back then. They're making their threats against one another, saying what they're going to do and what they're not going to do. And then eventually it's going to boil over to actions, right? And that's what this war is going to do. So it have already started, right? We're just at the beginning stages of it. And like I said earlier, it won't get nuclear to that MOTBC hip is made mandatory, man. So that's really what we waiting on for this war to really pop off the way it's supposed to. We waiting on that chip, man. Because without that chip being mandated, there won't be any nukes being shot, But we're going to get back into the video.
This war is not making people happy that voted for him, that thought, no new wars, not going to support any new wars, and don't want to spark World War III especially. People see we're on the verge of tactical nukes being strapped on some of this stuff with Zelensky now saying that Iran is an immediate threat to Ukraine. You see what this does, don't you? I mean, when are people going to see that we're already in World War? When you've got multiple countries sending troops to a front line where they're dying every day, like North Koreans and Chinese and Russians all dying in Ukraine, and then Ukraine having all NATO troops going in from the other side. That's what it is by definition, and it's already happening.
Right? And you just heard it from his mouth, man. That's exactly what's going on. World War III is already here, but like I said, we just haven't reached the point to where the nukes are going to be shot off yet, because we know that the chip has to be made mandatory. So I'm going to get to a precept right here, right? This is Malachi chapter 4, and I'm going to start at verse 1 in the KJV, because this is what's coming, right? It said, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven," right? ICBMs, thermonuclear missiles being shot off from these silos and these submarines and all of these other different types of, launch capability stations that they have to shoot these missiles from out of airplanes, bombers, right? This is what's coming, man. World War III, it's going to be nuclear, man. It's not going to be a battle that you're going to really have a lot of people being fought on the ground with. You're going to have ultimately militaries that are going to be fighting on the ground and things like that. But still, the main thing that is going to be used in this war are those nukes, man, right? And it says, "For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble." That means to be cut down. "And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch." And that's what the Lord is going to do to this place, America, man, and the land of Israel. But the land of Israel, is going to be builded back up, of course. But this place, America, man, is going to be desolate, a ruinous heap, after the Lord allows those missiles to be shot off over here, man, and to destroy this place in 1 hour, as it tells you in Revelations 18 and verse 10. "For behold, in 1 hour, that city has fallen, Babylon the Great, roughly paraphrasing it. But that's what's coming, man, and everybody can sense it. A lot of these people know that World War III is coming. They don't want to admit it to themselves, of course, because these people know that once that war happens, that it's the end of this world as they know it. And that's really what this war is going to be ushering in. It's going to be ushering in the ending of Esau's world and the beginning of Jacob's world, right? The so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, the Hebrew Israelites, man. As it tells you in 2nd Ezra 6 and 9, "For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth." And that's what's going to transpire through this world war taking place, right? The ending of Esau's system and his age, him being in power, and the beginning of the Israelites ruling. So, that's what's coming. Right? So, Lord's willing, this video was edifying. I'm going to end it by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops, a great millstone that rule well, that teach well, while learning the truth, 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect.